You pick up your phone. You check your notifications. There are no suspicious links, no strange attachments, and no unknown text messages. As far as you can tell, nothing unusual has happened today. Yet, somewhere inside your device, an invisible payload has executed. Your microphone is silently recording your ambient surroundings. Your encrypted messages are being read in real time. Your GPS coordinates are broadcasting your exact location to a remote server. And you did absolutely nothing wrong. This is the reality of zero-click exploits, the most lethal, sophisticated, and expensive class of cyber weapons on Earth. For decades, cybersecurity education hammered a single fundamental rule into our collective consciousness: do not click suspicious links. We were taught that human error was the primary gateway for digital infection. Phishing emails required you to click a link. Ransomware needed you to open a macro-enabled document. Trojan horses relied on user trickery. But zero-click vulnerabilities completely invalidate that golden rule of digital safety. They eliminate the human element from the compromise equation entirely. To understand how a zero-click exploit operates, we must first look under the hood of modern mobile operating systems. Today's smartphones are marvels of software engineering, containing hundreds of millions of lines of code. To deliver a seamless user experience, your phone is constantly processing incoming data in the background before you ever interact with it. When a text message arrives, your messaging app automatically previews the image, renders the text formatting, or indexes the media content. This background processing happens automatically, and that convenience is precisely where the weapon resides. Consider the infamous Forcedentree exploit, discovered in 2021 by researchers at the Citizen Lab. Forcedentree was a zero-click, zero-day exploit targeting Apple's iMessage architecture. To infect a target, the attackers simply sent a crafted GIF file via iMessage. However, the file was not actually a GIF. It was a malicious PDF document disguised as an image file to trick iMessage's image rendering engine, known as Image.io. When iMessage received the file, it automatically invoked a legacy PDF parsing library called Core Graphics to render the image preview. Inside that parsing library was an old JPEG-2 compression algorithm implementation, a standard originally created in the late 1990s for black and white fax machines. The attackers engineered a buffer overflow vulnerability within this legacy codec. By intentionally overflowing the memory stack, the malicious payload did not merely crash the rendering process, it constructed an entirely virtualized computer architecture inside the target device's memory. Think about the scale of that achievement. Without the user ever touching their screen, an incoming message triggered an automatic background preview, which executed a legacy code decoder, overflowed memory, escaped the operating system sandbox, and granted total remote root access to the device. The target phone received a notification, processed it silently, and was completely compromised before the display screen even illuminated. This level of technical sophistication requires immense engineering resources, which is why zero-click exploits are rarely created by independent script kiddies or amateur hackers. They are engineered by elite military intelligence agencies and private commercial surveillance firms like NSO Group, Citrox, and Kangaroo. A single functional zero-click chain targeting iOS or Android can command prices upwards of $3 to $5 million on the private zero-day broker market. Once a zero-click exploit establishes a foothold, it deploys a spyware payload like Pegasus. Pegasus operates as a high-grade intelligence gathering system. It does not just steal static data like photos or contacts, it turns the compromised device into a ubiquitous listening post. It hooks directly into the operating system kernel, enabling real-time key logging, live room audio recording. Via the microphone, video capture through the camera, and extraction of end-to-end encrypted chats from applications like WhatsApp, Signal, and Telegram. Because the spyware captures data directly at the operating system level before encryption takes place during transmission, end-to-end encryption offers zero protection against an infected device. Furthermore, modern zero-click spyware operates with extreme operational security. To avoid detection by mobile antivirus software and security analysts, the payload often resides strictly in temporary volatile memory, RAM, rather than writing persistent files to the phone's flash storage disk. If the device is rebooted, the payload vanishes from memory, leaving virtually no trace for conventional forensic tools to detect. However, state-sponsored operators can simply re-infect the device with another automated zero-click transmission as soon as it reconnects to the cellular network. The human impact of these invisible weapons extends far beyond state military intelligence. Investigative journalism collaborations, such as the Pegasus project led by Forbidden Stories and Amnesty International, revealed that zero-click surveillance tools have been used globally to monitor investigative journalists, human rights defenders, political dissidents, legal prosecutors, and government officials. When the private communications of journalists and sources are silently compromised, the foundational structures of accountability and democratic transparency begin to crumble. How do tech giants respond to these invisible threats? The defense against zero-click exploits is an endless game of cat and mouse. When security researchers discover a zero-click exploit chain in the wild, vendor security teams work around the clock to reverse engineer the exploit, locate the underlying software flaw, and issue emergency patch updates. Apple introduced Lockdown Mode, a specialized security setting that drastically reduces the attack surface on mobile devices by disabling automated preview rendering, blocking attachments, and restricting web browser technologies. Android platforms have continually hardened memory safety architectures, migrating critical system components to memory-safe programming languages like Rust. Yet, as long as operating systems remain complex, vulnerabilities will inevitably persist. Millions of lines of legacy code, third-party software libraries, and complex graphics hardware drivers mean that security researchers and adversary state engineers will continually find obscure memory bugs to exploit. What can individual users do in a world dominated by zero-click weapons? While the average individual is unlikely to be targeted by a multi-million-dollar state-grade exploit chain, the fundamental principles of mobile hygiene remain crucial. Regularly restarting your phone forces volatile memory-resident spyware to disconnect. Keeping your operating system updated ensures that known zero-day vulnerabilities are patched as fast as vendors deploy fixes. For high-risk individuals, enabling strict security configurations like Apple's Lockdown Mode removes the background convenience features that zero-click exploits rely on. The era of believing you are safe as long as you do not click suspicious links is officially over. The digital battlefield has migrated into the invisible background processes of our most intimate personal devices. As artificial intelligence accelerates both exploit discovery and software patch creation, the war for mobile privacy will only intensify. At CyberMatrix, we will continue tracking these shadowy frontiers where code, surveillance, and human freedom intersect. Stay vigilant, keep your devices updated, and never assume that silence means safety.